Hey, what's up everybody? How to Tech bringing you the disassembly of this Droid Maxx 2. So I went ahead and taped the screen off just so I didn't get any damage on it. We're going to use a couple different tools here. We'll be using a Torx 4 screwdriver, a couple of different pry tools, nylon spudger, a couple guitar picks to get into this. And of course we'll need our SIM card slot tool. We're going to go ahead and pop that SIM card slot out. You also want to make sure that you power off the device as well. We'll go ahead and pop the removable back cover off. And you can see here we have access to all of the screws along the back side of the phone. These are all Torx 4 screws all along the back, and these screws are actually in there pretty stinking tight, just much like all the other Motorola phones. So we're just going to have to put a little extra force into it. Make sure you use the correct size screwdriver, else you might end up stripping one of your screws. So we're going to work our way down the back side of this phone here, and I'm putting a pretty decent amount of force downwards to get these screws to get removed. And you can see this one here starts to get a little bit tricky. So we're just going to try again and put a little bit more force into it and see if we can get this to pop out for us. Excellent. Let's keep working our way down the back side of the phone to get all of these screws out. Now this isn't an extremely difficult phone to repair. There's only a few components to it, so it won't take us that long to tear down. If you're interested in future repair videos, go ahead and subscribe to me. I do a few a month when I can. And if you want to help me out, go ahead and hit the like button, share this video out there, get the word out so I can make more videos on more phones and help everybody out. All right, a few more screws to go. We're down about half of them. We're going down the opposite side of the phone now. I'm kind of interested in seeing this battery. It's supposed to be gigantic. They say like 48 hours use out of it, so it's like 3,600 milliamp hours. So we're expecting something pretty stinking big in here. All right, getting pretty close. There's two more screws to go up here at the top, and then one that's deep in there right above the camera. It's that one in the corner there that didn't want to come out earlier. There we go. Alright, now we should just go ahead and lift the back off of this. Let's go ahead and pull it up and see what happens here. Perfect. Now we have the volume button and power button popped out. And they just basically slide through this housing. And we'll talk about how to get those back in the reassembly video. I'll throw that down in the description below. Basically, they just go ahead and clip in here. You push them through the hole when you reassemble the device. So on the back of the phone, you can see we have our headphone jack here and a couple of different connectors here for the flash and other portions across the back of the phone. Looks like an antenna as well. Alright, now on the back of the battery, you can see we have our pretty large battery in there. It's taking up the majority of the phone here. Go ahead and pop this battery connector off, just pull straight up. And we have another connector here for the NFC that's attached to the back of the battery. And it'll just pull up as well. It's a snap-on ribbon cable connector. It's pretty gentle when you're pulling these up. You don't want to damage them or damage the cable as well. Alright, now with that done, we can go ahead and try to work the battery out. So we're going to use a flat pry tool. Something that might come in handy is using something like a gift card or a credit card can help you. A putty knife can also work, but I prefer to use plastic if possible. So just slipping this underneath and trying to work it up. Now it can be a little bit tricky. Looks like there's some adhesive down here on this side to get this battery out. Now you don't want to put an extreme amount of force on here because it's actually just glued straight on top of the logic board, which is kind of unfortunate. The logic board runs all the way underneath here, so you want to be pretty gentle when you're removing this. Let's actually use a nylon spudger here and see if we can't help pry up the side over here. Just being nice and gentle, not putting a ton of force on it to get it off. Now we can go ahead and pull it back and being careful of the power button, volume button. Alright, there you go. You can see that the adhesive on the back of the battery was just right here on these two spots, which actually sits on top of the chip kind of heat sinks here. This one and this one. I thought there was something here, but it didn't look like it. There might have been a little bit of adhesive there still, but... Alright, so now that we have the battery out, we can go ahead and work on removing the ribbon cable connectors that are holding this board still in place. So it looks like we have a ribbon cable connector for the volume, screen, camera, rear, and camera front. It looks like they're held on with a little bit of tape. Let's go ahead and pop the front camera off. Now this is a little bit different design than I've seen before. Basically the camera cable wraps around and then over on top of the connector. So we have to pull the camera out of its socket first. Let's see what this little flap here is. Oh, just a little grounding flap apparently. We're going to pull the camera back, and that will reveal the ribbon cable connector underneath. So what we need to do is go ahead and pop up the black hinge here upwards, and that'll let us go ahead and pull out and remove the front-facing camera. Now the remaining three connectors here are basically put in the same exact way with the hinge system. We're going to go ahead and remove the tape off of the power button, volume button. Pro tip, when you take the tape off, put it as close to the connector as possible so you know where it goes to go back in. Now this has a little bit of adhesive on the back of it, so it doesn't necessarily want to come out. And it's also tucked a little bit underneath the board. So you may have to play with it for a few seconds, just being gentle on trying to get this to remove for us. We may actually have to come back to it here in a few seconds. Oh, there we go. Got it pulled right out. I'll do the same thing for the display cable here. So this is actually a one-piece connector for the LCD display and the digitizer. Now, a pair of tweezers can come in handy here. We're just going to go ahead and flip the connector up, just being very gentle, and that should give us access to the tape without having to use tweezers. Or maybe not. Just take our time and work it back. Some pretty sticky tape there for the display cable. Now we can go ahead and try to slide this out. We may not be able to get it exactly out. We may have to actually pull the board out. We're going to do the same thing with the rear camera as well. We don't want to be too aggressive with this display cable here. So we'll see what happens once we pull the board out. Now unfortunately I did lose a little bit of camera footage of the camera removal, but it's really the same thing. Just pull the hinge up, pull the tape off, and then go ahead and remove it. The next step is the actual logic board, and this is a pretty tricky part because there's adhesive all the way around these edges here. Just try to find a place underneath the board that doesn't have a lot of connection, a little open space you can put your pry tool under, just kind of twist a little bit. You may have to use your edge a little bit more on these corners here to get it out. Now down here across the side, right here is probably where the board is adhered down the most, right underneath this chip. So be very gentle as you go ahead and lift it up. Now remember the display cable didn't want to come out, so we're just going to wiggle it just a little bit and see if it wants to pop out for us. There we go. Now let's go ahead and take a look at where the adhesive was on the back of the board here. Now you can see basically on the back of the logic board, right down here, all the way down these sides, there's a little bit of adhesive on here. This is what's holding it down. Now there's also these little contact points you don't want to bend when you go to remove the board from the display as well. Now another common issue that happens a lot with phones is the power button, volume button cable can get damaged. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So it looks like it's just actually put on with a little clip here along the side of the housing. And so we have our power button and our volume button here as well. Let's see if we can't get them to pull out with a nylon spudger here. We may have to use something a little bit stiffer like a screwdriver to pop these up. It looks like there's a little nub on the front side of the cable that's kind of holding everything in place. We may have to pry that up a little bit to get this out. There's a little bit of adhesive underneath the cable here, so we're going to undo that first and pull the cable up. We can take our spudger here. I'm just going to try to twist it. Yeah, that's not looking too promising for us. Let's try this curved side here. Looks like I have to try something a little bit stronger. I have a handy dental pick here, so a pin or something like a screwdriver should function for you as well. So you can pull that up, and it looks like, yeah, it looks like the nub on the front side of the bracket's really what's holding everything in. So we're just going to be a little bit gentle as we put our spudger underneath it and just kind of pull up and over that nub here. That'll go ahead and release the ribbon cable for us. So hopefully it comes with this bracket here. If not, you'll have to put some adhesive on it and then push it back down on top of the bracket. Then all you have to do to put it back on is just slide it over the exact same spot and then push it down over the little nubs that were there as well. You do want to transfer this piece of black foam from one power button cable to the other if need be. You can also remove the earpiece speaker. It just pulls right out with some adhesive on the front side. And really that's it for the disassembly. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments. I'll do my best to get them. As always, thanks for watching. Peace.